There's a lot of mystery around road tubeless, it would seem. What is it? What's the point of it? And is it worth it? So here's what we think. First of all, what actually is it? Well, simply using a tubeless specific tyre and a sealed rim, you can dispense with your inner tubes. Now you either leave the setup like that, or more usually, you add in a little bit of liquid latex sealant. So what's the point of it? Well, fundamentally, you get massively improved puncture resistance. By removing the inner tube completely, you eliminate pinch flats, and then with your liquid latex sealant, that actually seals small holes in the tyre as you're riding along with only minimal loss of pressure, meaning that you don't have to stand by the side of the road changing inner tubes. Now, if you do get a puncture whilst you're out, you can simply stick an inner tube in and it'll get you home, meaning you can then fix the tyre with a patch kit when you get back. In addition, some people claim that removing the inner tube helps to improve rolling resistance, and that removing the inner tube also helps to make the system lighter. Now we checked that one back at GCN HQ. The wheels are the same generally, whether tubeless or non-tubeless. So any difference in weight is going to come from the tyre and the tube, or lack thereof. Now we're using Schwalbe tyres here, so first of all let me put the non-tubeless tyre on the scales, along with the inner tube, minus valve cap and lock ring, obviously. And that comes up as 308 grams. Let's repeat that for the tubeless. First of all, obviously, we're going to have to put our sealant on. Zero that. Then the tyre, which is significantly heavier. It's next to 100 grams over the non-tubeless version. And then the valve as well, with lock ring this time, has to be done. And that comes in at 382 grams. So an extra 74 grams per wheel for the privilege of running tubeless, which is quite a significant weight disadvantage. What about installation? Now, if you've watched our How to Set Up Road Tubeless video, you'll see that we didn't really have any problem. Regardless, I still have reservations compared with how easily you can set up a standard tyre, especially if you've got a good rim tyre combination. Now, tubeless tyres, by their very nature, have to be really tight on the rim, and that can be a massive pain. While it's unlikely that you'll puncture in the field, if you do and you have to pop a tube in the tyre, then you don't want to get stranded by the side of the road because you can't get the freaking tyre off the rim. Now, obviously, you can still use tyre levers, but there is a high risk that you'll get stuck. It's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a consideration. The most important thing though is how they actually feel when riding. Now, I've been using these Stans Alpha 340 rims with Schwalbe 1 tyres and Bouteille inner tubes for the last week or so. They feel great, just like what I'm normally used to. But I've now swapped out to Schwalbe 1 tubeless tyres so that we can do a direct comparison and see how they shape up to one another. Let's check it out. So first impressions then. As you might imagine, I can't actually tell the difference in 150 grams of rotating weight. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a difference, it's just that even a picky rider like myself can't actually do it. One thing I have noticed though, is that running them at 95 PSI, which is where I run normal tyres, is that they do seem to transfer buzz from the road, little vibrations that normally get absorbed. Now potentially, that's because the carcass of the tyre is a little bit stiffer. Whether that's essential for a tubeless tyre, I don't actually know, but certainly conventional wisdom would have it that a tyre with a high thread count and a real nice flexible outer would feel a little bit more supple, whereas these just feel a bit stiff. So what I'm going to do is stop, let a load of pressure out, and see whether running them lower is going to help. That's a heck of a lot better actually. We've let the tyre pressures down, so I'm probably running about 20 PSI less than I normally would. And the bike feels a lot more comfortable. Dare I say, a lot more normal. It handles like it did when I had the standard clincher tyres on. Because I'm only using 80 PSI in there, normally the tyres would squirm a bit if I'm cornering hard. So we're going to go check out, do some fast descending and see whether or not having only 80 PSI on the tyres on 23s, don't forget, is going to make a difference to the way the bike handles. So Is it worth it? Well, like so many recommendations for bikes or bits of bikes, a lot of it depends on your riding style and where you ride it. Now this ride for me confirmed what I kind of already thought from previous outings on tubeless tyres, and that is that for pure performance-oriented riders, I'm not sure there's all that much to recommend it. Obviously there's a slight weight penalty, but for me it's the lack of feel and the lack of suppleness in the tyre casing that means that it doesn't feel quite as lively as the kind of tyres that I normally like to ride. If, however, you ride more steadily, or you're a bigger rider and you're more susceptible to punctures, then without doubt they could be an absolute godsend. Certainly if you do ride steadily, you're not always accelerating and cornering hard, then you certainly wouldn't ever notice that they're not quite as supple. So what's my actual opinion? Well, if I was to get one of these new endurance road bikes, kind of things with disc brakes and relaxed geometry, without doubt, I think tubeless tyres are the way to go. Those bikes are so capable of more than tarmac, but it's the standard tyres and tubes that let it down. If, however, you stick a pair of tubeless tyres on there and you're not going to pinch flat, you could take that bike almost anywhere. And that, for me, would be a serious recommendation. For a video showing you just how to install Road Tubeless, click here. And to subscribe to GCN to get more tech insights, click over there.